Hey y'all, Dakota Franson here, Specialist of the Strange. I just wanted to touch base with you guys real quick. We got a lot of things going on right now. And it just doesn't hurt to, check in with each other once in a while, you know? Sorry, I shut my door to try to eliminate as much noise as I can. But, here we go. First off, I want to talk about something real quick. Earlier last week, there was a school shooting in the Santa Clarita area. There was a high school shooting. Young man took 2 lives, injured 3 others, and was recently pronounced dead at the hospital after shooting himself in the head. I just want to extend my condolences with people in the area. It is a scary time. There's a lot of children who are nervous to go to school, who get nervous at simple fire alarms because of how often these things get flung around in the media. And while, yes, this is a topic that needs to be discussed, I've said it before and I'll say it again. None of the major parties who actually have any influence on how these things play out seem to pay attention to the facts. But this is not the time for that right now. What I want to do is fill in with you guys what the plan is for the upcoming episodes of this radio show. And I do apologize if I don't sound consistent. I do tend to pace when I talk, and trying to keep my devices all stationary to avoid causing a lot of background noise. So just bear with me. I'll make sure I speak in a way that you can hear everything I'm trying to say. On the topic of gun violence, we're going to start doing something a little different. Did try experimenting with it a little bit earlier on during the first initial recordings of this show, but we're going to start doing a little something different. The way I was doing episodes in the past was a lot like... How should I say that? How should I put this? I guess it would be comparable to how children's shows, educational programming, talks about their topics. They bring something up, design a whole theme around it, throw in a couple of nifty things here and there, just to keep the kids' attention, and that was that. However, due to the nature of some of these things, you can't simply do this without getting yourself into the field. Without having some sort of action in the field, you can't give yourselves an appropriate judgment on everything that's happening. You have to go out there and experience the world for yourself. Come to your conclusions and actually talk to one another to see if perhaps they may have caught on to something you didn't, or you caught on to something they didn't. Those of you who found me through Specialist of the Street, no, not Specialist of the Street, I'm sorry, my brain's on kind of a shutdown today, so work with me here, okay? Those of you who found me through the YouTube channel Strange but True Stories, You may be familiar with another guy who the host, Steve White, had been referring to as Hunter. A lot of people, before Hunter and I came forward and say, yo, that's not what's happening, a lot of you assumed that Hunter and I are one and the same. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of similarities between us, to where even some of my best friends, the closest people in my life, even girls who I've been romantically involved with, who've listened to the stories, they have noticed that it's kind of eerie. But a lot of you also didn't pay attention to how certain things are time-stamped. We didn't mention specific dates, but in the stories, rough timelines of how old we were during certain incidents that were showcased on that channel were presented. And a lot of you actually ignored that. Despite both of us trying to come out and say, no, we're two dudes. Now, don't get me wrong. This dude sounds like he could be me 20 years in the future. He's married with kids. And I guess that he was in his 40s because one of the first stories of the Hunter and the Entity stated that a child that was not born yet during those incidents wrote about recurring dreams that she seemed to showcase Hunter, even though they had never met. That was my first clue on how old the guy was. He said he was roughly my age that I am now at the time that story took place. So, that being said, he's easily in his early 40s. It doesn't take much to be able to figure this out. It just requires paying attention. So, essentially, he's old enough to be my parent, be my father, and no, he's not. Because if he is, that's a more episode waiting to happen, because last I checked, the man who I know as my biological father is currently sitting in a prison cell down in Texas as part of the state of Idaho's lock the door and throw away the key program for life sentencers. Anyway, that's not what I was going on this tirade about. Now, the reason why I bring up Hunter is because apparently he has decided to come forward a bit and actually answer a few of your questions on the old videos. One of them in which he makes a very valid point. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of guys truly out there like us, because we have been somewhat out in the open, me more so than him. Others like us aren't likely to show themselves. And there's also not a communication network amongst us, despite some of us actually trying to get that in place. Because honestly, some of the things that are going on nowadays, we need something like that. Anyway. But a lot of you don't realize that the reason why I took this public route, because that seemed like the best way I can reach out and help others. My only frame of reference when I got started in this type of thing was Sci-Fi's Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, shows like that. And yes, there have been talks for me to appear on shows about the paranormal. Some of you may know that I've actually popped up on National Geographic in regards to the Loch Ness Monster. So I'm not going to shy away. Because I honestly think that getting these stories out there, showcasing that something is in fact going on, is what needs to be done. We draw enough attention to it, redefine some of the wild western ass ground rules that others have put in place, figure out systems to weed out the frauds. And, what else should I put there? Basically, we need to rewrite the rules that are out there. We need to weed out the frauds. We need to establish what's actually going on. Not this bullshit of saying, oh no, I believe they're from other dimensions. No, we can't just go around saying what we think. We need some sort of fucking evidence. And honestly, I'll be honest, it's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine when some people start doing that. Now, they may have very valid points. They may actually be onto something. I don't know. We can't be 100% sure until some sort of new developments come out. And that's not what we're getting. Part of the reason why a lot of paranormal studies aren't taken seriously in mainstream scientific circles is due to the fact that none of what's being proposed can be replicated easily. And that proves to be a problem. That is also why I say we need to establish some sort of ground rules. Now, a few groups have actually taken on a bit of an oath. There's quite a few of us in paranormal circles who've done this, but there's a bit of an unspoken oath among a lot of paranormal groups, and for those of you who might be curious as to who would do such a thing, and Lorraine Warren have allegedly followed through on this. A lot of us has actually taken an oath to where if something happens to where we ended up dying, we find a way to come back and report on what's been going on. Now, not too long ago, there was a Coast to Coast article that popped up on my social media feeds that stated a gentleman who was doing a case in, if I remember correctly, it was St. Augustine, Florida, where he allegedly made contact with the spirit of a young girl who seemed to shy away at certain questions. How she manifested. Whether or not she could tell what happened to her after she died. And due to some of the situations, and over the course of the investigation, he claims that while there were questions that made the girl shy away, one of the times he was able to get her to come back, the little girl essentially said that there were rules to being dead. Of how the dead could interact with the living. If I remember correctly, I'd have to bring up the article again. None of these responses were caught on audio. They were actually responses to EMS spikes, in which a lot of paranormal investigators think that, oh, here, I got this little thing of pens right here. I'm going to use that as an example. You know, say, oh, make this go off If it's a yes, leave it alone. If it's a no, type thing. It's where to say, are you a man? They wait a little bit. Say, are you a woman? Okay. Then when they get a response, it would assume that whoever they're speaking to is a woman. It's not a very good system. But it's all we got. Why was I going with this? Dear God. Anyway. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. I'm spacing out here. So, essentially, what he concluded from this interview, so to speak, was that allegedly the dead could interact with the living, but there's certain things that they could not tell us. And it just ends the conversation there. And this is what I want to know. Why? Why can't they tell us? It seems kind of fishy to me. Because, and you can look at all sorts of examples. You can pull up like psychic fails on YouTube. Found plenty of good examples. Sylvia Brown, her and the whole Amanda Berry situation. You can find plenty of examples to where people have tried to use the fact that these things cannot be explained through modern methods, the whole mystery, keeping people in the dark. They have tried to use this to their advantage for monetary gain, claiming that they were psychic. Which I'm going to touch back on as far as weeding out the frauds here in just a sec. A lot of how this interview, this article on Coast to Coast was presented, gave me the same stank. Something just did not smell right. And that's the type of people we also need to weed out. And that's why I also encourage you all to go ahead and be skeptical of claims that I make. Go right ahead. Now, if you're going to be skeptical, the only thing I ask is that you be respectful and actually try to start a discussion. I believe in hearing people out if they have an opposing argument. If you can show me what led you to certain conclusions, even if I still don't agree with them at the end of the day, I'll still respect you. I respect the people who present themselves like that a hell of a lot more than the people that just spout off, "Oh, I don't believe that." And that's just how I feel on the matter. It's kind of like, how should I say this? Here's another example to kind of illustrate my point. For those of you who don't know, I'm actually a pretty big guy. I am 6'7" and about 340 pounds. I'm a big guy. And while I'm not necessarily physically fit, I'm not really fat either. I'm a little bit on the heavy side, but at least 290 pounds of me is pure muscle. According to the little pulse machine they got at my local Kroger store by the pharmacy. I know that most people if they see me out in public, they're going to get a little intimidated by me. Not because I'm really doing anything, I'm just minding my own business. Maybe I just had that kind of that grouchy / tired face. You know the one. People don't necessarily get intimidated by me. And I also know that sometimes, like every other human being in the world, I can be kind of a dick. I know this. I understand this. According to the people who have known me longest, I've gotten better over the years as I've dealt with my own issues. But still, occasionally it happens. Now, the reason why I say this, I have more respect for the people who are willing to call me out and say, Dakota, what's up with you? You're being kind of a dick. Than the people who stir up trouble themselves. Now, yes, maybe they got something going on too that's putting them in a bad mood. We don't always know. But eventually, if someone is willing to sit down and talk about what's going on, or at least give me some sort of indication that, hey, something's going on, could you please knock it off? I'll have more respect for that person. Because I know that when I get on some of my fun and wacky adventures that I can get so jacked up that in my own fun that sometimes I space out that certain people I care about are going through stuff and they might need my help. They need my support. It's not hard to get yourself into that mindset. I'm trying to keep myself in check so that the people I have remaining in my life don't leave. They're free to leave if they want to, if they don't want to be around. I'm not going to stop them, but at the same time, I really respect them, I really trust them, and I really enjoy their company. And so naturally, these are the people that I would want to keep in touch with at least, you know? Sorry, the holidays tend to bring out certain things in me, and yeah. Anyway, so, and that's what I gotta say, is like, don't ever try to establish yourself as too much of the top dog. It's okay to have confidence in yourself. It's okay to, have a good self-esteem. That's good. That's good. But never, ever assume you're the best at something. Because something can always come around to knock you on your ass, to prove you wrong. And to which I also have to reiterate that I acknowledge that someone could easily come along and disprove some of the ideas, some of my theories that I've put out there in regards to the things I've researched. As for these frauds, they try to establish themselves, and often, if they feel like they're being backed into a corner, will try to intimidate the person calling them out. What was that one show? I believe it was on CBS, to where people could come onto the show, showcase mystical or psychic ability. And the well-known illusionist Chris Angel was actually a judge. What What was that show called? I can't remember. It was freaking long ago. But there was an incident where a contestant got into a verbal altercation with Chris Angel because he had something prepared in order to try to call out this person. Now, I know what he was doing. I've done it on a few occasions. But needless to say, it's not quite professional showmanship. It's not a professional approach. So that's why I kind of want to restructure how this show is going to go. If you go on my website here soon, you're going to notice that certain things are going to be added to the calendar. You're going to notice on my website, you're going to see where it's going to start alternating between radio weeks and writing weeks. In order to hopefully speed up the production of my next book, which essentially is promising to be one of the most comprehensive books into the supernatural out there, I want to try to tie in some of the content from that book into this show and to hopefully try to speed up production a little bit, but also present new content. So, while I am out discussing different various topics, they're going to be tied directly into subjects I happen to be focusing on in the book. And now this is not just going to be like Zach Bagans' new Ghost Hunting for Dummies book. This is going to be something that not only explores how paranormal research is done, but it also will propose several theories on what may actually be going on. It's going to showcase various different beings that are out there. It's going to showcase things from various folklore from around the globe. In fact, bouncing back to Strange but True Stories, some of you may have heard the part where I'm currently in a book, writing a book that goes in topic about over 2,000 paranormal subjects. Well, guess what? This book I'm talking about now, the handbook to the paranormal, is actually what that book has evolved into. Now, there's going to be bits on that discuss what's going on with the various topics of the paranormal. It's going to throw in some theories. It's also going to showcase my own grimoire. As part of my studies have included magic. And I'm not just talking about, pull a rabbit out of a hat, Julius Dean, Penn and Teller magic. I'm talking the magic we know from mages, witchcraft, sorcery, the real stuff. It's going to include some bits that I have put together over the years for my own travels. And at the very end of the book, it's going to include a glossary of various paranormal terms, which was originally what the 2000 topic paranormal book was going to be. It was essentially going to be a glorified dictionary of the supernatural, but when you really look at these things, there's several aspects of psychology, forensic science, archaeology, behavioral analysis, quantum mechanics. There are so many fields that could potentially go into this, that could explain things that are going on, that I'm going to try to cover in this book. And those are going to be things that I also cover on here on this radio show. So I'm going to stop blabbering here and tell you what the kind of plan is going to be. This week is going to be a radio week where I try to record as many episodes on certain topics as I can within the week, schedule them ahead of time. These episodes are going to start hitting the airways in January. Then the week after the radio week is going to be a writing week where I focus on writing more of my book. Then I'll give updates on that as they go along. Say radio, write, radio, write, radio, write. And I'm going to try to tie everything together. As far as the whole idea for the paranormal school, we're putting that on hold for a little bit. Because I've honestly bitten off more than I can chew, and there are other avenues I am exploring that look like they might turn into something, but I do not want to share too much information on it yet. That might end up being more productive and more helpful to people, as it will allow me access to more resources than I have at my disposal now. And it will also help me take care of some personal matters going on in my life, which, as always, will come first before these other programs that I have coming together. Situations with my loved ones, my own financial security, as I don't make a lot of money doing these shows, to be completely honest with you, will have to come first until I reach a point to where I can make a steady income from all of it. No, I will not charge people for my services. If you want me to help you with a case you're working, if you're an investigator, if you got something you think is going on and you need somebody to reach out and help you, I will do that to the best of my ability, free of charge. But because I also have other interests, other skills, I have books, I have t-shirts, I have leggings, I have water bottles, I have phone cases that you can buy. Get yourself some cool little merchandise. And it's with that, I'm also announcing that I am opening up a new store with brand new Specialist of the Strange merchandise. You may notice that there's a couple stores already open on my website. There's one through the website Zazzle. That actually mostly showcases old designs from when my ghost hunting team was still together. I keep that alive just so nobody else tries to use it for slander reasons. And yes, I've had that problem before. But this new store, I like it a lot better because the designs are better. There's a better quality overall. And it's something new. Some of you might actually be interested in seeing some of my merchandise. So be sure to go to my website, dakotafranson.com, and check it out for more details. Also, coming to select theaters and on demand. If you're a fan of the Arrow series, if you're a fan of superhero movies. Well, guess what? I have a movie which stars Robbie and Stephen Amell called Code 8, coming out on December 13th to select theaters and video on demand. So if you have an iTunes, Vudu, Google Play, Amazon Movies, any of those, you will be able to watch that movie when it comes out the day of its release. And honestly, I have been excited about this movie for quite some time. I actually got on board with this before my Studio Legion M came about, so I've actually been waiting a while for this one to come out. And I'm excited to see how it pans out. So be sure to check that out. If you have an Alexa device, you can also listen to this show on it. Did you know that? All you have to do is go into your skills on your Amazon device or Amazon app and look up Dakota Franson's show. Once you add that skill to your Amazon devices, all you have to do is say Alexa, or if you switch or whatever of the wake up terms you have your device set to. But all you have to do is say, Alexa, play Dakota Franson's show, and you can catch the latest episode of this podcast right on your Alexa device. Also, if you're interested, you can get updates from me personally added to your flash briefing. All you got to do is add Dakota's thoughts to your Amazon skills settings. Make sure it's turned on. Then whenever you get your flash briefing, you can get updates directly from me on my various projects. This is kind of to test out some ideas I have for further down the road, so please do stay tuned. Now I think I'm done yammering off your ears for today, so I'm going to head and check out. Be on the lookout for more updates from me, because I do have to keep this podcast somewhat regular in order to keep some of my syndications. So, I will see you all next time. Stay safe, stay warm, and stay kind to one another. Till we meet again, my friends.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.